We are diving into the journey of Knott-Craig, a groundbreaking tech entrepreneur and author of his latest book, Life Lessons: How to Fail and Win, a book that's already making waves. So get ready for an insightful conversation. This is my Entrepreneurship Journey podcast. I'm Defo Machele, and welcome. Knott-Craig is a successful entrepreneur, author, and founder of Fibertime.com, a company that works to bridge the digital divide in Africa by bringing prepaid fiber internet to townships. Originally from Pretoria, he studied at Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University, formerly UPE, and qualified as a chartered accountant with Deloitte in 2002. Since starting his first business in 2003, he has founded or funded 21 businesses in the tech industry, including Cellfind, iburst, Mxit and HeroTel. In 2013, he founded Project Isizwe, a non-profit organization that brings internet to township schools. He has published 10 books since 2008, including a national bestseller, Don't Panic, a global history of telecommunications, and a memoir called Life Lessons: How to Fail and Win. He was named as a young global leader by the World Economic Forum in 2009. He was also included in 100 Choiseul Africa, a list of top 100 young African business leaders in 2014, 2015, and 2016, and nominated as the 2015 ICT Personality of the Year by ITWeb. He has been nominated by Entrepreneur magazine as one of the top 11 entrepreneurs changing the African landscape. Alan, thank you. Thank you for coming to my Entrepreneurship Journey podcast. We really, really appreciate you for being here.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Great to be on your show.
You penned a book, Life Lessons: How to Fail and Win. Thank you. I found this book to be so inspiring. I know you're here for us to talk about Fibertime, but to get to that point, your journey starts in this book. Everything is in this book. It's quite inspiring. Thank you. You know, when I was going through this book, the just first paragraph, when I read it, I got so much inspiration from it. I tell you, I just read it quickly. You say, for entrepreneurs, this is the introduction, just the first page you flip. Privilege means being born in a postal code near wealthy people, going to school with wealthy people, or having powerful parents who can introduce you to wealthy people. I am privileged. I was born in apartheid South Africa. My dad is a rich white guy and was the CEO of Vodacom. Thanks to his reputation, I've had access to other rich white guys nationwide. That gave me the breaks I needed to be able to raise, make, and lose millions of rands at a relatively young age. Guilty as charged. This book explains what I've done with the lucky ticket I won in the lottery of life. After reading this, I was like, I just looked at these words and I thought, how honest. But my most takeaway from this was the action you took. You have the postal code, you have access to what you had access to, but what matters was the action you took. And I felt like it challenged me to look within and find what lottery of life do I have? Because I could be having something that someone who looks at me thinks, I wish I had access to that, or I wish I was exposed to that. This is what I would do with it, you know? And I thought there could also be someone who was born in a better postal code than you, and they didn't achieve a quarter of the things you achieved, because I feel like what matters is the action. And I found this challenging, inspiring. I took so much from just this paragraph. Thank you.
Well, I must be honest. I think the way you just summed it up is spot on. It's a very insightful realization, is that we all get given something when we're born that we had no credit for getting, or no blame for getting, or credit for getting. It's all we can do is do something with what we got. That's all we got,
Yeah.
Instead of looking around wondering, bemoaning the fact that we don't have stuff, just to try to think about what we do have. What is our God-given gift? In my case, I was extremely lucky. and then do something with it, because that's like the ultimate insult. Is if you have been given a God-given lottery ticket and you did nothing with it, that's a bit of an insult to all those people that wish they'd had that.
Wow, profound. And now we are here to talk about Fibertime. What is Fibertime?
Fibertime's a business started about 2.5 years ago. The idea is to connect every single home in every single township in South Africa to fiber. It's actually every home in the whole country, but most homes in the country already have fiber. The leafy suburbs at least have fiber. So if you've got a bit of money, you've got uncapped internet. But if you're living in a township, in other words, you're not as wealthy as the people living in leafy suburbs, you don't have uncapped fiber. And our mission is to put fiber into every single home. We sell R5. For R5, you get 24 hours of uncapped 100 megs per second fiber. Super cheap, super fast, high quality, and actually very profitable. So it's not a charity at all. It's very profitable. And the logic being, there are just so many more people living in a township than in the leafy suburbs. So you can sweat your infrastructure.
Yeah. And that is quite cheap at fast speeds that we hardly get, we always struggle with our connections. Like, I paid for the speed, but this is not what I'm getting. And there was something I read where you mentioned something about SSID. I'm not so clued up, but as in the SSID is the same. Does it mean someone who has Fibertime in their home can connect from anywhere with their credentials where there is coverage of Fibertime?
The best what I mean is, look, so I'll explain it because hopefully everybody in the whole of South Africa listens to your podcast and understands what we're trying to do. Because I mean, it's like a no-brainer what we're doing, and we just want people to want it. The more people that want it, the easier it is to deploy it. So we go into a township, for instance, say Alex. We knock on every single door. We say, "Would you like a free router, free fiber router in your home?" Most people say yes. Then we send trucks into town. We plant poles on the pavement and in between all the homes. We string fiber along the poles, like the good old telecom days. We had like a pole in your back garden and there was some copper in it, but this is optical fiber. And then from the top of the pole, we drop fiber into all the surrounding homes. So in a township, we can have as many as 30 homes connected to one pole, because there's so many homes all on top of each other.
Yeah.
Corrugated iron shafts, brick homes, everything. Every home with an electricity meter gets fiber in the home with a router. We put the fiber into your wall. We install a router in your home on the inside wall. It's got a UPS. It works when there's load shedding. And then you've got Fibertime. And all you got to do is go buy a voucher for Fibertime from a Kazang or a Flash vendor, or on your app, you just buy a voucher. And then you got your PIN and you enter it. And then when you look on the SSID or the Wi-Fi name, you've got a Wi-Fi on your phone, it'll say Fibertime. You punch Fibertime, say enter your PIN, and you've got 24 hours of uncapped fiber. But the nice thing is it's the same SSID or name of the router, the whole of Alex. So every home has got Fibertime. So if you've bought your voucher and you're using it at home, but now you want to go visit your sister, or you want to go to the hairdresser, or you want to go down the road, you can carry on using your uncapped fiber because that voucher works wherever there's a Fibertime router. So it's actually mobile fiber.
It's not limited to area. My goodness, that's
you can use it. I mean,
awesome.
We're in Alex, we're in Mangaung, we're in PE, we're in Cape Town, we're in Stellenbosch. So wherever we have a network, and the more coverage we get, the more useful that voucher becomes, and you're getting your money's worth on your voucher.
Okay. And Fibertime started operating in Kayamandi in 2022. Yeah. And today, where can we find it? Where is it accessible?
So Kayamandi, in the Cape, it's Kayamandi, Umfuleni, Kraaifontein. We're starting to build in places like Khayelitsha, etc. We've got in Port Elizabeth, Eastern Cape, we've got KwaZulu, KwaNobuhle, Walmer Location, Motherwell. And last week we went live in Bloemfontein, Blangoong, and in Sandton 2 weeks ago, it's Alex.
Wow.
So, we're trying to get more towns all over the country. We've only really just cracked the code this year. So now we're trying to explode to as many places as we can.
Yeah. Wow. Alan, you are a qualified CA. You wrote in your book that you went into it because you followed your father's instructions. You got married, did your articles, you got into Deloitte briefly. And there's something you write, you said working for a company takes away your ability to survive in the wild. Can you expand more on this?
Look, I mean, it's a bit of a generalization, and some of my closest friends work for a company, so I'm not saying it's bad to be an employee.
Of course not.
But there's a guy called Nassim Taleb. He's written a couple of great books. One of it's called Skin in the Game.
Yeah.
And he says that the only addiction more dangerous than heroin is a salary. Because basically what he says is the moment you are relying on a company to put money into your bank account every month, you are actually outsourcing your ability to survive in the wild, because you don't know how to get money for yourself. You need a company to put money in your bank account.
Yeah.
And I think the vast majority of people will always need a salary. It's just what it is. It's just that if you have any itch to be an entrepreneur, or any itch to be really like living a life of adventure, then the only way to do that is to figure out a way to survive by yourself in the wild. And the way to do that is figure out how to make money for yourself in your own business.
And you took that, you met your friend Gavin, who had started Cellfind, a cell phone tracking company, and called you to join him. You write that that wasn't an easy feat at all, because you guys were not realizing profit. Now, how was that journey, if you can put it for us?
Now,
yeah.
My first business was Cellfind. Our first partner was a guy called Gavin Verigis. It was the normal kind of story of a startup. You don't make any of your targets. You spend more money than you thought. I almost gave up. But it was a great example of what happens when you've got a great partner. And Gavin, I couldn't have had a better business partner than Gav. He never let me give up. He never diluted me. When we needed money, he put the money in. And, just through a lot of luck, but also just, doggedness, we ended up turning the corner after about 2.5 years. And we ended up making quite a lot of money. That business still actually operates today. 21 years after we started, it still makes a lot of money. So great business.
Yeah.
I learned a lot of lessons in that business. One of the lessons I learned is how great it is to have a good partner in business. Yes. Later on, I didn't always have partners. But I also learned a lesson, don't sell a good business. It was a great business. And when I was offered money to sell my shares, I took it because I thought, it can't last forever. But great businesses actually do last. Whereas bad businesces are the ones you should get out of quickly.
Yeah. And when we talk about that survival thing, when now you were not making any profit, guys were just bleeding money from the start. You started troubleshooting now. See how you can diversify. An idea of cell phone porn landed, and you thought, okay, maybe this is what you should do. When I read this part, I laughed so hard. Years ago, when we were young and naive, with a friend of mine, we wanted to sell, we said we'll start an online sex toy shop, but it should be anonymous. Nobody should know it's us. And then I was telling her, listen, my parents cannot find out this is what I'm doing here in Johannesburg. And she said, yeah, but I have to go talk to my husband first. I said, okay, go talk to your husband. In the interim, I'll research where we can get this. I hear Japan has got the best ones, and maybe we can buy from there, and how we can start an app or a website. Well, she went to talk to her husband, and that never got anywhere. And the same with you. This idea, it never took off, thanks to the counsel from your wife. And you're right that starting a business strips you of shame. Is it indeed a survival thing?
Yeah, well, I was desperate. We were not making money, and some of the people in our industry were doing the premium rated SMS industry. A lot of them were doing porn, and they were making a lot of money. And I thought, hey, let me just do that in the short term to pay the bills whilst we figure out how to make money with the cell phone tracking.
Yeah.
But that's why it's a good idea to marry a good person, because when I mentioned my genius idea to my wife, I quickly got vetoed, and it was the right thing. It's very difficult to stay on the straight and narrow when you're in financially desperate circumstances. That's why I get it. I know why people do the wrong thing sometimes, because the temptations are so strong. And sometimes it's just the only difference between the wrong path and the right path is somebody standing on your left or right hand side that pulls you in the right direction. Like that's just been my wife. Many a time she stopped me from doing dumb things.
Yeah. And nonetheless, of course, as you mentioned earlier, Cellfind started making money, and it's still doing even today. But you after altering your strategies, you guys worked on it and it started working, and you were making a lot of money. You're right, we were printing money, and it was like printing money. That's how much money you guys were making, and you sold in 2007 because you're right, you felt like an imposter. Can I ask why?
Well, I think I had a double whammy for the imposter syndrome. The one reason I felt like an imposter is because everybody who's ever started their own business and succeeded feels like they just got really lucky. It's inevitable. No one ever, very few people can actually look in the mirror and think to themselves, I'm totally legit. I'm on merit, making money by myself. You kind of, you do tell people that, but you kind of inside you feel like you're not telling the truth, And because of that, that's why you show off. That's why you get a fancy car and a fancy house and all that stuff, because you want to show people that you're the real deal, because you don't really believe you're the real deal. And then when somebody comes along and makes you an offer for your business, you still have that feeling inside like, oh, shit, this is all too good to be true. Let me just take the money quickly before people find out. And on top of that, I mean, my dad's a legend in telecoms.
Yes.
And there's definitely a part of me that always felt that the only reason I was doing well is because of my dad's place in the industry. So double whammy imposter syndrome. I was a big sufferer of that. And I only really got over that towards the end of the 2010s. So 2019, 2020, that's when I started realizing that, hey, maybe I'm not just lucky. Maybe I actually have got what it takes to be an entrepreneur.
Really? You've done so much. I remember my first take at business school when I went back in 2012. I thought I'm tired of being a medical scientist. I'm just gonna go try my luck in business. And there was this case study they were teaching us about you there, and Mxit, and I thought, wow, this guy is a legend. And here you are, you thinking, am I the real deal? And it's funny how life is. But thank you for sharing that.
Most people doubt themselves. It's just what it is. You're looking on the outside, but on the inside, people are not sure of themselves. And in my opinion, the only way to really believe in yourself is to succeed.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can look in the mirror and say, believe in yourself, believe in yourself, believe in yourself. I think you've got to actually go out there, take some risks, and survive and struggle and survive and win. And you've got to win. I mean, if you just lose your whole life, you're not going to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Mxit wasn't a great success for me. I took it wiped out by that, so it didn't help my imposter syndrome. It was only after building it up after that I kind of felt, okay, I'm not a total loser.
Of course, you're not. And talking about Mxit, now Mxit comes, it enters the chat. You managed to raise 300 million to acquire it. Of course, that this wasn't the initial asking price. It was way higher than this, but you did your things, negotiated, and tell us about that process.
Yeah, so 2011, I just started a business called World of Avatar. We had about 10 or 15 little companies doing smart apps for dumb phones, mostly feature phones. We were rapidly failing, and I realized that I needed to kind of get some critical mass. And trying to build critical mass from or a standing start is quite difficult. You need a lot of luck. So we thought, rather let's go buy somebody who already got lucky. And Mxit was in Stellenbosch. By then, it was already 7 or 8 years old. Far and away the most successful consumer app company to come out of Africa, and had a lot of users, a lot of customers, 10 million customers. So I went to the founder and I said, can I buy your business? And luckily for me, he and his partners were having a bit of a fight, and he was a bit tired of fighting. And we snuck in there. We did a deal. We failed to actually raise the original capital we thought we would. But by that point, they had a bit of deal fatigue. They just wanted to do the deal no matter what. So we ended up paying a lot less than what we originally offered, which was also a lot of money. We bought it. 2011, bought Mxit. And then I proceeded to make a mess of things. And a year later, I was kicked out. Yeah. And in some circles, I'm known as a weapon of mass financial destruction. The amount of money we lost in that whole thing was not fun. I didn't enjoy it. My partners didn't enjoy it. My wife didn't enjoy it. Nobody enjoyed it. I had to sell my house. But Mxit, that was an incredible journey for me. I learned a lot about raising capital. I learned how not to run a business. That was it.
Yeah, and before we get to that part where you got booted from it, we want to talk about value proposition, because now there was Mxit. It has this imminent threat of incoming WhatsApp, and you write that perhaps Mxit was Tinder before Tinder, not a chat app. Can you tell us how crucial it is to get one strategy right, or to be able to position or define one's value proposition correctly?
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of people will argue that tactics are more important than strategy. I mean, I just think that's a sign of mental deficiency. The truth is, if you're going down the wrong path, it doesn't matter how well you're going down the wrong path. It's a dead end. You're not going to win. So, we had a lot of tactics wrong at Mxit. We got our smartphone app execution wrong. We got our business model wrong. A couple of things like that, which maybe we could have fixed over time. But even if we had fixed those things over time, because we positioned ourselves as a direct competitor to WhatsApp, we were doomed. WhatsApp was always going to smash us as a bigger network effects, more capital. It was just going to beat you. So the strategic mistake we made was saying we compete with WhatsApp. We're an instant messaging platform. And I'm just as my opinion. I mean, it's impossible to know because we can't beat time. But in my opinion, I think we should have just been a little bit more honest about what Mxit really was, which was a place for people to meet people, and focus on that. And then that would have taken us out of the oncoming, steamroller of WhatsApp, and we could have carved our own little space out. We would have eventually come up against the likes of Tinder, etc. But we maybe would have had a bit more time. Maybe we would still have been squashed, but we don't know for sure. And I can tell you right now that we 100% chance of failing going up against a WhatsApp at that time. So we got it wrong. There's a little bit of ego involved, a little bit of incompetence involved, all on my behalf. At the end of the day, the CEO is in charge of strategy, and if you get the strategy wrong, you've got the wrong CEO.
Yeah, but you also still met with some resistance and misunderstandings. For example, from the investor, you were talking about company culture. You wanted to turn it around. You were saying Mxit is a tech company, which in essence, Mxit was a tech company, So you wanted the culture to be that of creativity, relaxed. People can come to work wearing what they want. And I wonder, really, I'm not saying if you guys got the culture right, it would have worked, but how crucial is culture?
Yeah, culture is very important. Look, culture doesn't pay the bills. I mean, at iburst, we had a great culture, but we didn't make any money. So last going to work was not that much fun if you're not making money. Mxit, we got culture right as well. We did manage to kind of fix a little bit of a broken culture. We had very nice people. Everyone was very motivated. We had good purpose, very purpose-driven organization. We allowed people to come to work barefoot. But the problem was once we started slipping on some of the promises made, like around business model and all of that, to my shareholders, then that's when people started clapping around and all of that stuff. So, ultimately, my partners lost confidence in me. And when people lose confidence in you, then they start meddling, and then it's only one way,
Yeah. And of course you left in 2012 in October and you found yourself in a dark place. It wasn't a nice place to be in. I mean, earlier we talked about imposter syndrome. Now you were being called names, a weapon of mass financial destruction. And it wasn't a fun time at all for you. And how did you pull yourself out of that funk to come back again?
Well, I mean, three things helped. The first thing is I got out of town for like a few weeks. So my wife and I took our kids and we traveled in America for a couple of months in a car just to get away from the noise. It was quite a public thing. Stellenbosch is quite a small town. It's kind of difficult to see the wood for the trees if you're stuck in the noise. So we're in a different time zone, scenery that helped me course correct and make sure I was thinking clearly, and also reassess my goals and whether we were going down the right path. I think my kids played a massive role. I mean, my kids still loved me. It was amazing. It didn't matter that I was such a my kids came running out. The whole thing, I'm a legend. I think kids are just great for that. If you want to pick me up, I have kids. Unless, of course, your kids don't. But I mean, if you're half decent as a parent, they're going to love you. They obviously, without my wife's support, it would have been game over. Luckily, she was a rock. And then I have purpose, I mean, I'm blessed to have a feeling that I can spend the rest of my life trying to get people on the internet, and that'll make me happy. And when you've got something like that pulling you forward, then it's easier to get back on the horse.
Yeah. And of course you did. You got back on the horse, you bounced back, started HeroTel and now started again, back at a grind, raising capital, and you got rejections. And you wrote in this this incredible book, you wrote that the only way to get comfortable with rejection is to be rejected. It's a muscle. Yeah. Can you expand more on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, anybody who's able to find love knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I think, look, I'm not proud of the mistakes I've made and the failures I made. That's not. I don't say to people, failure is good. I don't think failure is good. Failure is pretty crappy, makes you feel bad, you lose money. It's not great. It's just that it does make you stronger. It's like running up a hill, like 1,000 times and vomiting afterwards, You're not going to enjoy any of that. You're going to be stronger afterwards. So I don't go out of my way to look for ways to make mistakes or fail, or I don't want to learn lessons unnecessarily. But every time you go through a little rough patch, you do come out the other side with a whole lot of lessons, and you're more mentally resilient. You're just okay. You've seen something that you hadn't seen before, and it turns out you survived it, so you're less afraid. And the less afraid you are in business and in life, the more you're going to try. And kind of that becomes a lovely little snowball that can take you through life and then help you kind of, take you more risks, not uncalculated risks, take risks with safety nets, etc. But ultimately, what you really want to be doing your whole life is be taking risks, putting yourself in a place of uncertainty, a place that you don't feel comfortable, and learning stuff. If every day is like the day before, no one's going to want to write a story about your life.
Wow, that's profound. Wow, and entrepreneurs are always being told, be careful who you bring on into the business. Mostly, be careful of friends and family, but you take it a notch up, because this is what you experienced in HeroTel. You write that be careful before you appoint directors who don't have skin in the game. I thought here, gloves are off. What do you mean by that?
Well, what that meant, I'm talking about independent directors. So
Yes.
a non-executive independent director is someone who doesn't have any equity. So basically, they don't lose money if they make bad decisions. That's basically. Now, right now in our current business, we've got an unbelievably good non-executive independent director. She is unbelievable. She is adding so much value. So I'm not saying don't appoint them. I mean, it's good for corporate governance. It's good for making sure there's no conflicts of interest. It's just be very careful. Be very careful, because I think in our case, Lucia, the lady who on our board, she's just like an unbelievable person. She's got such a work ethic and such a good conscience that she will always make the right decision for the right company. But she's not. That's not normal. A lot of people, if there's nothing in it for them, actually don't care, and they'd rather just go with process and no, we followed the process, and then you go bankrupt. But we followed the process. That's very, very. Whereas if you've got directors who can lose money if they make a bad decision, they don't care about process. They just care about getting to the right outcome. So, just surrounding yourself with those people is a lot safer, particularly when you're a small business.
I hear you. Wow. And now you went on like that in HeroTel. You needed to borrow money from the bank to buy your own company, HeroTel. And now on the subheading, the infamous bank call. Now this is when the banker, you had done all the negotiations. You were now at the final stages of that negotiations with the bank. And now the bank said, hang on, we need to have a chat with your CEO, who you named Kusi in the book, and to see you guys are all on board, And of course, he was prepped. He said he understood. He agreed to the rules of engagement. The call came. He said, despite you guys' differences, he understands this is where we're going. And the bank called, and he didn't. He just went the other way. Which was the end of that. How were you able to keep it together? And what lesson did you learn from that?
I trust.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, Kusi, his name Kusi. He was just dishonest, with the board, and then he tried his best to torpedo my deal to buy out minorities. And I know why he did it, because he knew the moment I got outright control, he was going to be kicked out. So, I mean, it's just my opinion. I mean, obviously, everyone's got a version of their own story. Yeah. And there were a lot of people in that call, so they can give their own versions. But that's my opinion. It was borne out by the fact that about 2 weeks after that call, he left HeroTel. So he resigned just before he was fired, I think. Yeah. So, obviously that didn't go, it wasn't great for me, because it made it very difficult for me to raise the debt I needed to buy out minorities. Yeah. But in the end, everything worked out okay in the end. So, I mean, it's a nice little story, and I learned a lot, and it was great working with the banks and learning how all these things work. But it was, at the time, it felt like somebody had launched a torpedo into my ship.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine being you there waiting. We are waiting for the final word from this guy, and the banker is like, okay, how goes?
Yeah.
And
It's so funny. We're having this conference call. Everyone's on the call, the directors, the bankers, everyone. And so the banker asks the CEO to tell him about the business, and Kusi basically the most boring possible 45-minute monologue you've ever heard. I mean, he's generally quite a dull person, but I mean, I think he went extra dull just to try and discourage the bank.
Yeah.
But right at the end of the bank, he said, look, I mean, can we just, sorry to interrupt you, and this is very fascinating, ha ha ha, but there's just one question, if Alan becomes the controlling shareholder, do you have a problem with that? And everyone just goes quiet. Quiet. Kusi says, no, we would walk out if he became the controlling shareholder, which is literally the 180-degree diametrically opposite thing of what he'd said to the board before that. So then there was just this long, awkward silence, and everyone's like, oh no, torpedo that's been launched and what has been said.
We've been hit. Yeah.
I mean, the chairman, obviously contradicted CEO and said, no, that's absolutely incorrect. And, but, the guidance that the bank can't say afterwards, he didn't hear those words. So he knew, from that point on, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
It was all quiet, there was like a very awkward kind of finished call, just very well, that's
okay, bye. Yeah. But it also takes us back to that point you mentioned about being careful on who you bring on. But I guess we'll never know.
Look, I mean, he was a good partner for a while. He was a good financial director. He definitely deserves a lot of credit for what we built along the way. It's just, in the end, I probably wasn't a good partner, to be honest, but he wasn't a good CEO. So I think you just got to be careful who you make the CEO. And I'm an accountant. My wife's an accountant. My best friends are accountants. But not accountants can't always be good CEOs. A lot of them can't see the wood for the trees. And ultimately, that's really what we had a disagreement about the future of the business. I felt townships were the future, and we couldn't see eye to eye on that. So, and then ultimately, character was revealed. So, and that all resulted in us having to sell the HeroTel eventually. We sold it in 2022. So it was a good result as far as our investors and everybody was concerned. The staff all safe. We did a lot of deals along the way. We bought a lot of WISPs, wireless guys. They all did really well. So overall, very proud about what we achieved there, and happy with how everybody turned out. Just frustrating that I've got to start all over again to build a business, because it's pretty hard. You need a lot of luck, and you need to work pretty hard to get from 0 to 1.
Of course. And in the book on the subheading on purpose, Alan, you challenge us to ask ourselves why we get out of bed in the morning, because for you, it was always to connect everyone to the internet. For everyone to have access to information through the internet, regardless of their, socioeconomic status. Hence, today we have Fibertime. How important is finding one's purpose?
Look, so I didn't always have a purpose. It was only in 2010, just after I'd had my first daughter, that I started thinking about, what would I tell her one day? What I did with my life? Was I just making money, or was there something a little bit more profound? Was I trying to make a difference? Particularly in a country like South Africa, there's so much inequality. I don't think you can actually close your eyes and just pretend everything's fair, So luckily I had kids, and those kids made me start thinking more about, what am I leaving behind? And that became my purpose, like getting people on the internet whilst trying to make money at the same time. I think not everyone is lucky enough to kind of click. I literally had an epiphany. I woke up one day and I just knew what I wanted to do. But if you don't, it's okay. Most people are like that. That's all good. I mean, I think you should try work in a company like an Alan Gray or a Capitec or a Discovery, some company that's kind of is doing something positive and is trying to help people, so that you at least know that even if it's not your own personal epiphany, it is you make a living by helping people, which is it's just a great way to live. But if nothing else, just have kids, because kids are enough of a purpose. I mean, if you think about having to put food on the table for my little kiddies, that's enough. So having a reason to go to work it's helpful. And
thank you for that. And on another subheading on quitting, you write that the secret to success is to keep quitting until you find what you're looking for. And now, when you have found it, focus, don't quit, never give up. When I came to this point, it brought me back to that famous Stanford speech Steve Jobs gave to the graduates back in 2005, where he said, the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. I feel like this is what you also are saying here, because it seems like your journey was a true contradiction, because you seemed to be quitting. I'm sure maybe you also believed I'm quitting, but in essence, you were working towards your purpose. You were chipping away all the parts of the block that went David. I would like you to elaborate more on this, David, and Michelangelo. You put it so well. You wrote it so beautifully in the book.
So, in the way I see it is, so once I knew what I wanted to do with my life, get people on the internet, that has never changed. But I've tried different ways of getting there. So, World of Avatar, Mxit, Project Isizwe, HeroTel, and now Fibertime. And it's, sometimes voluntarily or involuntarily, I've had to give up along the way on my path to the mountain, but the mountain hasn't changed. And I think that's kind of what I'm trying to do. You want to aim for the same thing your whole life. You don't want to lose sight of what you're trying to achieve. But it's okay to quit along the way if you realize you're going down a dead end. If you've chosen the wrong partner, or if you've got the wrong business model, or wherever it is. And part of it is just taking risks. So that's where the Michelangelo analogy comes. He carved a famous statue of David. And somebody once asked him, how do you carve David? And he said, well, it's very easy. You just start with a block of marble and you chip away all the parts that aren't there. And I think that's kind of definitely what I've done in my career in telecoms. I've basically figured out all the ways you can lose money in telecoms. So through a process of elimination on all these different business models and technologies, I've landed at just put fiber into homes and townships. And maybe that's the wrong one as well. But at the moment, that seems like to be the right one. But it wasn't like genius that I woke up one morning thinking this is the right way to do it. It was through a whole long process of making mistakes, and through a process of elimination, landing at this thing. And maybe the best analogy for this whole quit thing or don't quit thing is love. Yeah. When you're looking for love, you shouldn't settle. You should wait for that where you found your soulmate. I just think that. I think you shouldn't settle. And sometimes you meet so many people, you just start thinking, well, maybe there's no one out there that's meant for me, and so you do settle. But I think you should quit if you're in a bad relationship. You could keep quitting until you find the right one, and then you should never quit, because that's starting point of your whole career, your life partner. You find the right life partner, a lot of things are going to be easier. And if you're the wrong life partner, a lot of things are going to be harder.
Not a lot of people mention this, but thank you. Thank you for saying that, because, it's easy, as you say, keep chipping up until you get to the core of yourself and finding David. It's easy to listen to, external stimulants or outside noise, or, this is good enough. No, do this. No, forget about your vision. This is the business model. This is the right life for you, but you will know deep inside, as Steve Jobs says, like matters of the heart, like everything with matters of the heart, you will know when you find it. So thank you for elaborating that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. and towards the end of the book, you dispense lessons, your life lessons that you learned. I found them to be so incredible. There's many of them. I really encourage our listeners right now to get their hands on this book. Lessons like, how do you raise money? When do you need to think about profit? How do you find core motivation? There's one that you say, if you're going to eat shit, don't nibble. But my favorite one out of this, thank you, is this one. How do you be yourself? And you write, the only way to be yourself is to know yourself. At the start of life, no one knows themselves. You have to find who you are. How to do that? Take risks, stumble, fall, learn. Every step you take into the unknown helps you shine a light on yourself and discover who you are or who you are not. It's a process of elimination, as you said. As Michelangelo said, start with a block of marble and chip away everything that isn't David. Same goes for finding out who you are. Start chipping away. Here, I'll say, Alan, drop the mic. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thanks. I'm glad you enjoyed the book. And I've got lots of lessons that I've learned since writing that book. It's like a never-ending journey. But I did like writing the book. I must be honest, even though it's a bit of an arrogant thing to write a book effectively about myself, I really enjoyed it. I liked writing about it. It was a nice experience for myself. And then when one or two people read it and they said, "This is, you should publish this," I didn't, hide behind a little tree. I thought, give it a go, and I went to publish, and they published it, and now it's published. And a lot of people make with it, and I might get criticized for it, and it's a risky thing to do. But I did enjoy it, and a lot of people like you read it and they get something out of it. So if I'm helping a few people along the way, it's great.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. This has been a lovely chat, so inspirational. I learned a lot. I'm sure everyone else listening to us will take at least something from this chat. Thank you for being here, Alan. I really appreciate it.
Cool. Thank you, Lafoya.
Thanks for listening to our show this week. If you enjoy our show and would like to support us, help us by spreading the word. Tell your friends about Mej and engage on social media. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Our handle is @Mej Podcast. Mej, My Entrepreneurship Journey on LinkedIn. If you would like to engage with us privately, drop us an email at defoe@mejpodcast.com. Remember, we are available and streaming wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Defoe Machele, and you've been listening to My Entrepreneurship Journey.